Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. It is September the 14th of 2022. And I'm Nick, and I'm here with Quinn, and it is manga talking time, guys. It's nice to see you all again.
Yeah, we got a lot of good manga to talk about. And then some manga that aren't so good, but the fact that they aren't good is what's going to make for a good discussion.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, honestly, like, this is the kind of, like, content that we kind of just, like, thrive off of, because it's got a bunch of bullshit happen this week that we can, you know, really milk for, like some stupid laughs and stuff. But there's also enough good stuff that we won't go insane by putting ourselves through that stuff.
We actually have quality manga to talk about this week. And there's a lot of exciting stuff to talk about. A lot of exciting things just going on in general. And this is weird because normally we start Weekly Manga Recap with like a joke or a bit, but this time we're just excited to be here.
Yeah, it's the most straightforward beginning of Weekly Manga Recap ever. So let's talk about wrestling for 5 minutes.
Okay.
So
you're gonna have to carry a lot of this. I have been out of the loop on wrestling for a little bit now. I know of all the major
the stuff,
the incidents.
Why are there multiple incidents? This is bad. Honestly, I don't think anything is as fascinating as that whole thing that's been going on. I will freely admit that for a while, I thought it was all a work. So
it's the awful thing about wrestling in general is sometimes you can't tell when things that are like controversies are bits or not, because oftentimes that line is blurred. Like sometimes it is just a bit, sometimes it gets turned into a bit, sometimes the wrestlers force it into being a bit. Like, you never know. I really have to go back in time and say, like, was CM Punk saying fuck Eddie Kingston over and over again on Twitter a bit, or was that just him being raw? I really don't know anymore now.
Yeah. Him especially, because it was him, I convinced myself for roughly a full day. Like, oh, no, this is like, he didn't just like decide to torpedo his own career. Come on, this is all so that they could get people talking and then they could, you know, make money off it. But no, apparently he just did some very stupid stuff that pissed off a lot of people. So
yeah, we'll see what has to come out from all of that. It's a very ugly situation right now.
Yeah, I think that it's really weird because like it's the thing that's super hot right now in terms of like all the people who like, you know, mine any bit of wrestling news and rumor, hearsay, everything are just going on it, and they're finally starting to like mine it a little bit dry because now like all the legal proceedings have come in, so there's no new news coming out. So like, okay, I guess we just have to wait now. So no, but there might be a little bit more. We've got to keep this going because this is the thing that everyone cares about right now. Because that's, you know, how things are on the internet, is that you have to chase the things that people are excited about, or no one will want to watch your content. So, guys, we got some cool new manga to talk about as well this week.
Yes.
Because we've got the continuation of a series that began last week and a new series as well. And so I guess that we'll get into that because but to start off, instead of a beginning, we're going for an ending / new beginning. Starting off with Undead Unluck here.
Yes, we are starting with Undead Unluck. This is chapter number 126, Advent. And we don't get a cover page. We instead get sort of a collage of characters reacting to Ragnarok. So we see the character no one knows. The growing theory is Unburned there with Bunny and Unlove. We see Shen there with Mui. Phil fighting like a cosmic dragon, which seems like it would be kind of a cool fight, but who cares? Creed, I believe, inside like a space base of some kind. I don't know, or it must be on Earth because our Earth's being attacked. But there's a lot of stuff going on. We cut around to different characters. Kind of looks like Top might be dead.
A little bit.
Like there's a pretty brutal panel of Shin being mortified about what's going on. We see Fang flying around. Good for him. Yasui just fucking vibing in the middle of the woods, being like, "Hey, I'm gonna go out like I went in."
Look at these tree stumps. It's cool.
Yeah. And finally, we eventually get to Ruin, who's just like, "Aha! It's starting, the final Ragnarok." And Fuko is, of course, like, endure for 11 minutes. No, I gotta fight too. If my unluck attacks with Andy, we should be able to. And Juez is like, no. Once Arc starts charging, if you left the seat, it would force it to reset. So you have to just believe and wait here. And she's like, all right, let's go, Andy. And Fuko just starts feeling really bad. She's like, it's always like this. Ever since that day I hugged Mom and Dad, the people I cherish the most always disappear from my life. And before she can really get down that thought too much, Andy calls out to her and runs up and gives her like a big hug. And I like Apocalypse, who was just like, hey, don't use the sacred round table for a host for your makeout sessions. It is not a makeout.
Also, I still hate you all. I'm not part of this team.
I want everyone to know. Andy wants to make it very clear to Fuko. He's like, hey, don't tell me this late in the game that you're blaming yourself for everyone dying or whatever. You can't even kill me good enough. So don't act like you're some god of death. All we need to do right now is grab hold of that baton that everyone has passed to us so that the two of us can go through the loop, get stronger, and come out on top next time. And they're like, all right, cool. That's what we're going to do. Andy heads out of there because he's about to get a massive stroke on Unluck at this point. And he just shouts out, Fuko, it's just 4.6 billion years. I can live that long if it means seeing you again. And I don't know why. Aww. There's something so cheesily romantic about that. I love it. And in classic Andy fashion, he says, catch you on the flip side. Andy is so dorky and yet still not like a loser. I don't know how to describe it, but that my guy has lived through billions and billions of years, but his lingo is exactly always the worst part of the 90s.
Imagine if he were just like from a very slightly different period, how much less endearing he would be. Yeah. I'll see you later, you filthy hippie.
Catch you on the arches there, kiddo. I'm like, what? Fuko is left alone when someone shows up, and it is Luna, the being from the moon. And Fuko's like, who are you? And they just say, Exalted One. New first seat unluck. Fuko Izumo. Let us chat for a while. We cut away from that, though. Andy and Juez launch out of the base. They see this glowing crater-like thing. It extends beyond the panel you can't see. And just like, so that's it? Yes. That is God. Sun. And we just see the sun with a black body hanging off of it that is covered in presumably eternally popping lava boils almost.
Yeah.
And it just says, the one who validates this world. And we get like in the margins of the page, time until Arc mobilizes 10 minutes, 50 seconds or 30 seconds. So wild stuff.
Oh yeah.
They're going to kill the sun.
Yeah, the final goodbye between Fuko and Andy is great. I love that he's just this huge guy and he just fully glomps her and knocks the chair over that she's sitting in. I love, you can see her like limbs trailing behind them as she gets tackled with the momentum of it. There's a very sweet and sincere goodbye between them. And then we see the sun enemy, which is, I love the visual of this thing, this just silhouette that is seemingly just made of lava, and I love the detail of it. It's just this completely black, featureless body, no face, but there's the detail of all the heat boiling off of it so that it doesn't just look like a plain black shape. It's very cool.
It's absolutely awesome. This is a great character design, a great reveal. How you just spend the panel because you just see like this impact, essentially, for a while. You see like this big ball, and then like when you're seeing it, it's kind of like hanging off the panel. And when you finally see like, oh, and there's just little, you want to say it's a little tiny man like silhouette, but then you see like in the final panel it's humongous, and you're like, it's just very terrifying. Like this feels like a Persona boss.
Yeah, and then I love the final page of Juiz and Andy looking all cool as they head off to fight the sun. Cool.
Really good stuff. I'm super excited to see where this goes. Well, I'm not excited for the next couple chapters because I feel like the next couple chapters are gonna make me sad. If like the shot of seemingly Top, if not dead, then like severely injured or hurt, is already like a catalyst to me being like, I hate this. I don't want to watch this anymore.
Yeah. Especially because, it's there's going to be a lot of people burned to death, it seems like, too. So that'll be fun.
Yeah. All right. That's it. Let's talk about Chainsaw Man.
It's chapter 104, spoiler. We open this chapter with Yoru
It
in
just got why it's called that.
Yeah. This is a wild goddamn chapter. I was not expecting the direction that this chapter goes in, and yet when it did happen, I was like, no, this all makes perfect sense. So Yoru is temporarily in control of Asa's body, and she is at home, safe, in bed, throwing a tantrum, just punching her pillow, screaming into the pillow, throwing a fit. And she's just really pissed off that they got saved by Chainsaw Man. Asa is apparently very calm after the whole near-death experience thing, and she's just like, I'm trying to sleep right now. Please be quiet. She asks Yoru why she hates Chainsaw Man, and Yoru is quiet for a moment before replying, well, I fought him a long time ago. And Chainsaw Man just gets back up no matter how many times you kill him, so I lost to him. And the next thing I knew, he'd eaten from my body, which weakened me. He's the reason there hasn't been a single war since the World War. Which, the phrasing of that is revealing.
Well, we do know that Nazis were eaten. So it would stand to make sense that all of World War II was probably devoured at some point.
Yeah. But as a result of that, there's been no major conflict at all in the world. It's just something that's the subject of movies and video games now. And as a result of that, people don't fear war as much anymore. And so Yoru, as the war devil, grew weaker. And then things get weirdly sad because Yoru says that at this rate, everyone's going to forget me. Which, the manifestation of war is afraid of being forgotten. That seems like it should be a good thing, but I feel kind of bad for her.
Oh, poor war. Oh, just let them have just a little war. Just a little war. Yeah.
What is it good for? Well, I mean, for her,
it keeps the war devil happy.
Yeah. There you go.
President Bush in his list of reasons to invade Iraq. He's like, he keeps the war devil happy, guys. Like, it's right beneath, like, oil question mark.
All the people who are like, this is all, like, completely unjustified. This intelligence is clearly, like, faulty. We're getting involved in things. We don't have any allies in the situation. I do feel kind of bad for the war devil, though. He is right about that.
The war devil hasn't done much to hurt. I mean, bad. I guess he has, but, like, look at the little guy.
Yeah, it's fine. But Yoru says all that, and then Asa asks, are you afraid of being forgotten? and there's just a beat as she's staring at Yoru, and then she's like, "What the hell? You're asleep? You were just screaming. What the?"
There are so many great reaction panels in this chapter, and that beat page is definitely another one of those of her being like, "You afraid of dying? What the fuck? Did you go to sleep?" like the face of just like, what the fuck?
Asa is left for once, completely alone in this moment, and so she thinks to herself that, for a while she didn't care if she died, but now she's glad she didn't die, and she just quietly thanks Chainsaw Man for saving her. Meanwhile, Chainsaw Man's a chair right now. The great hero, Chainsaw Man. Denji is letting some girl just sit on him, not in a sexy way either. Maybe for him it is, but not in the traditionally sexy way. I'll put it that way. He is acting as a full-on chair for her. But some guy comes in and says, "Hey, some tall pretty boy is asking for you." And of course it's Yoshida. And Denji's like, "Leave me alone. Why was that girl sitting on you?" "Because for 10 yen, I'll be a chair for 10 minutes. That's so little money, Denji.
That's so little. It's astonishing.
Like at least get like $1, like a full $1.
For 10 minutes. 10 minutes is a lot. If you even did $1 for 10 minutes, you're still not making minimum wage for being a chair.
It's so demeaning. So the reason Yoshida called him out is because, like, oh yeah, you dropped your student ID when you were fighting the cockroach devil, and Denji grabs the ID away from me. He's like, "Damn it!" Yoshida's like, "Yeah, I know you left it behind on purpose so that they would find out you were Chainsaw Man. Stop doing this. My goal is so that you live in peace. You can't reveal your Chainsaw Man, and I will stop you if I have to." "Well, if you try and stop me, you're dead. I gotta go back to being a chair now."
And I love Yoshida's response. It's like, how do I continue this conversation? How about I pay to be your chair now?
"That's ridiculous. I'm not gonna let a dude sit on me." Gives him money. He's a chair now.
It's just so little self-respect.
Oh, God. I mean, like, at least that's $10 that he's giving him. That's okay. That's a lot of money. So, yeah. And but Denji's like, "I'm still gonna let people find out I'm Chainsaw Man." And Yoshida says, "Are you doing this because you want a girlfriend?" And Denji says, "Yeah." So Yoshida has a brilliantly straightforward thought, which is, all right, I'll help you get a girlfriend so you don't have to let people find out you're Chainsaw Man. So Denji's like, "All right, you're on." "Okay, Denji, what's your type?" "Girls who are desperate for a boyfriend."
And it's another great reaction panel of him being like, "Oh, I know somebody who's desperate for a boyfriend."
This is it's so simple, but so brilliant, because the next panel is just, they're hanging out with Asa, and it's like, oh, right, when Yoshida met Asa, for reasons unknown to him, she, for no reason, demanded he be her boyfriend. So in his mind, she's perfect.
He's like, "Oh yeah, I got the perfect girl."
So they apparently just like came and just started eating lunch next to her, and she's really bothered by this because she wanted to be alone because she's into social outcast and everything. They very briefly mentioned that Yuko is out because her leg is hurt, so she's out with an injury. Yoshida asks her about, "Oh yeah, hey, is that rumor true about you being saved by Chainsaw Man?" She says, "Yeah, pretty much." And Denji starts to engage with her now and says, oh, he saved you, huh? And Yoshida's like, "Oh, let me introduce you guys. This is Denji. I think he wanted to talk to you because he really likes Chainsaw Man, which is not the best foot to start off because Asa's just kind of like, really? And Denji's like, yeah, you like Chainsaw Man? And Asa says, well, I used to hate him actually, but these days I'm neutral. I mean, he did save me and everything. And Denji's like, well, why'd you hate Chainsaw Man? And Asa is reluctant to answer first because Denji likes Chainsaw Man, but she says like, I mean, he's always covered in blood and gore, so he's kind of gross. And Denji's like, well, he bathes,
It's such. This entire exchange is fucking phenomenal. It's just so like he bathes.
But she's also like, like he's got a Chainsaw Man sticking out of his head. He makes him look like he's an idiot. Also, I love this note, and it did not occur to me. But yeah, when we saw Denji saving the cat earlier, apparently the reason he didn't save any of the humans that were in danger were because they weren't cute girls.
There were grannies in that car, but he's like, those are old people. I don't know.
No. They're old. So yeah, she points out like the only people he ever saves are women, so he's blatantly horny and gross. And Denji says he's got a pure heart. And she's like, yeah, and people say he eats cats and dogs. He would never eat cats and dogs. And doesn't he eat people too? He's a devil. What? No way! And even if he did, it was just the one time.
If there's the best joke of WMR for the year, it is this moment right here. We're just like, does he eat people too? No way he never eats people. And if he did, it would have just been that one time.
Right, I did eat Makima premeditatively.
His little fucking, his arm pout. It's like, and even if he did, it would have just been the one time.
This is the idiot Denji I come for, okay? Yeah. Not this, like, I want a girlfriend, but like, he's like, no! Once!
It's so fucking funny. He doesn't have to defend it. No one knows he ain't Makima.
He just can't tell a lie. He's too pure.
He's being honest in his defense. He's like, and even if he did, it was...
So Asa fortunately just kind of like fills in the gaps and says like, oh, you're just jumping to his defense because you're a fan of his. You're not willing to acknowledge all of his faults and all this stuff. Anyway, all the stuff you're saying, you don't actually know Chainsaw Man, and I freaking hate that. And then she's like, well, fine, I'll tell you how I know. I'm gonna say it. I'm just gonna finally say it, and that'll show you. And Yoshida doesn't even try hard to stop him. He just kind of goes, Denji. But we get a full-page spread of Denji, like, cockily turning and putting his hand to his chest and going, I know all that because I'm Chainsaw Man. I know everything Chainsaw Man's thinking because I am him. You get it? And Yoshida doesn't say anything because he knows how this is going to go. Asa looks at him for a second, and I think that what's going through her head is, are you being serious right now? And then she just says, loser, and she walks away. And the triumph slowly fades from Denji's face as Yoshida has to point out the most obvious thing in the world, which is no one's going to believe you if you just say that. And he's got to be like, I am Chainsaw Man, though! And she's gone. She's gone. That's the end of the chapter. Asa's walking away from you because you're a loser. So
it's a very, very funny chapter. I do like seeing Denji and Asa interact. I'm excited to see more of it. Good stuff. I just like the comedic situation we have right now as Yoshida is like this beleaguered babysitter to Denji who is just smarter than him, so he knows how to manipulate him into a situation. Just watch it go. It's just very funny.
Yeah. And it's kind of crazy to have this interaction where we had all this stuff where Asa was built up very tragically as this person with no friends, couldn't connect with anyone, has horrible anxiety about being around people, and then Denji is such a goober that she mean girls him. Like, he's so incompetent that the biggest loser in school is like, this guy is a loser.
This guy sucks.
So yeah, incredibly funny chapter. Was not expecting them to actually just have a full-on conversation this early, but the director took was insanely entertaining. So
all right, Nick, from one high to another, let's talk about Eden Zero, chapter 207, To Shine. So we open with Laguna, who has flown their spaceship out of Dead End Crow and is like, hey, where's Clean? Hermit's like, Laguna, she got shot down. Oh no, is she okay? I don't know.
No.
We'll have to find her. What's going on inside? It's like Jin's on their way to the power source. We cut her Jin, who's surrounded by a bunch of robots, and he's like, my joints are giving out. I guess I can only do so much without Aether. But now it's time to cut back inside as we deal with the confrontation between Holy and Cure. Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but Cure is an incredibly disappointing, stupid character. So I don't want to give the benefit of calling him by a reasonable name. So I'm going to start calling Cure just like a dumb name, like Heilong or something like that. And just, go with it because that's more amusing me. So Heilong is just like,
I don't really get it, but okay.
Maybe no one will get it. Maybe only a small portion of our foreign audience will understand what I'm doing here. Holy is just like, oh, this is great. Like, you're here. We could find Crow's power source. And then Heilong's like, just lasers through the stomach with a finger. And Holy's like, what the fuck? And Heilong's like, I am the power source. Yeah, or maybe I should say, I'm Dead End Crow's main body. And he's like, goes on to explain. He's like, oh, if you had never made it this far, you wouldn't have had to have found out about the balance. And he begins to give a gigantic speech about balance. He says, the universe needs good and evil. And I am good and evil. Does that make sense for the interstellar army to shine brighter than the galactic darkness is essential? You got to do this, Long before you were appointed on the Eration Cess Interstella, I was creating all kinds of darkness and then eliminating it myself to make a shrine. And Holy's like, you created darkness. And Cure is just, Heilong is just like, yes.
Yeah, gotta get it right, Quinn.
Gotta get it right. It's just like, tell me, what is the purpose of our existence? To save the universe. Then we need an evil to save it from, of course. So I created Draken, Joe, and Nero. I apparently created a pair of dice that were never wrong. And I gave it to them, letting the darkness grow larger and larger. And then I erased it, thus bringing us closer to life. Although I wasn't really, I don't know if I was present in either of those situations.
I'm just gonna take credit for those things. It was all me.
But I did both of those. And of all my creations, Dead End Crow is my greatest masterpiece. His darkness is so deep and true. And twisted.
He's really big. He's so deep and twisted.
He's real big, but he's also creepy. He just says, I always knew that you would be the one to beat him today so that we could shine. But today is not that day. I'll not allow you to alter my plans. And the Holy's, of course, like, what the fuck? We're fighting these things, risking our lives, and you created them? And Heilong is just like, not all of them, of course. Ziggy and Actuella were villains in their own rights. And all I had to do was give Elsie and Nox bad names to make them into villains. Which is...
What does he mean by that?
So I guess he just went to, like, the Universal Council for Bad Guy deciding. And he was like, I don't like that Elsie or that Nox. Let's make them both...
She seems like she's mean.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I guess there was, like, a meeting at some point to decide on the Eration 6 Galactica, and he was just there to be like, I don't know, like, why don't we get, I don't like Elsie. Fuck her. She should be on there. And what about Nox? Like, isn't she just like lead a church? Like, yeah, but fuck him. Fuck him. Put him on the list. On the list.
They said that your skirt made you look fat.
Oh.
I heard. At least that's what I heard. I think so.
Oh, they should go to the top of the list then.
In Absolutely.
Fact, oh god, I hope he was just like, that's why I created a dude whose sole purpose in life is just hunt Elsie down. I created everything.
I literally named him Justice. Do you know how stupid that is?
I wasn't very creative that day. I wasn't creative when I named anyone on this team. I made a dude to erase people. I called him Eraser. I'm
trying to keep it together.
And he just says, that's what makes Crow a real masterpiece. But we cut away.
He's so big!
We cut away. We can't find out that revelation yet. We can't. We have to go to the outer space part where Eraser, of course, is talking with Feather. And she's like, hey, Eraser, there's something wrong with my eyes of Venus. I cannot accurately determine someone's location. He's like, all right, we'll just have Cure fix it then. All I do is erase stuff.
All I do is erase stuff. Yeah, it is my name.
It's in my name, guys. That's all
I want Eraser to show up in every chapter and for his catchphrase to be like, he'll say something and then once a chapter he'll just say, all I can do is erase stuff. It'll be like his I'm a doctor and not a blank.
So someone's like, we need to open that door. He's like, open a door. All I do is erase stuff. They're like, technically you could erase the door.
You can erase the door. Yeah, but you won't be able to shut it, and then like a cross breeze will come in. You'll feel cold, and if you want to put the AC on, then like you'll constantly be paying more, and bugs will come in. So you don't want to erase the door. All I can do is erase stuff. Sorry. So.
Feather has explained that they are not talking on a channel that has Cure on it because the person they're referring to is Cure. Their ship is completely unmanned as far as their eye can see. So we cut back over.
What? Cure's not in their ship?
Whoa.
What?
So Hey Long explains their stupid backstory of like, yes, the bloody Atmos day. I did it. A mysterious Titan.
Pretty much.
A mysterious Titan showed up, squashing everybody and maniacally laughing. Over 1 million dead. And then all the women were hung up for his sick entertainment. I made a creepy, it's not a sex thing, but I kind of am suggesting it was a sex thing because that's how evil this guy was. Ooh, just the worst. Again, I don't think Hero kind of understands scale that much because he's like, well, this guy was the worst. Over 1 million dead. I'm like, didn't Nero have an entire solar system? Or like even more like a cosmos that he ruled over? Like how many more people suffered under that guy? If you're trying to say a despot.
Remember when there was the giant intergalactic battle, Quinn, and then they said like over 1,000 people died? It was like, yes, yeah. We know. We saw. A planet blew up.
So they're just like, yes, all the women were strapped to these things and forced to just sit there, and they all died except for me. And Hey Long is just like, yes, that was when the story was established, that you would be the light to eventually defeat Crow. Which is like, what is your fucking ether gear? You better have some fucking Hunters Guild fucking I write the story bullshit power, because it's like, how do you determine this? Like, how do you know? What if her fucking ether gear sucked? Like, what if she got her power? She's like, I can sprinkle things with salt. And you're just like, oh shit. You were supposed to be the paladin who killed Dead End Crow.
God.
He was like, yes, that was a day when darkness was born. A day seeds were sown to make us shine brighter. And of course, Holy is just like, this fucking, you gave, like, my sister died for this deranged idea. 1 million innocent people died for this. And Hey Long was just like, how many times do I have to repeat myself? It was for balance, yo. I gotta have to balance that good and that evil. And Holy was, of course, like, this is fucking stupid. Good people don't create evil. You're only evil. Punches Hey Long.
Yes, which is why I am good and evil.
Look at me playing both sides. So she punches him in the face. He goes flying, and of course he's just like, but without evil, we would have no reason to. She's like, stop associating me with you. And he's like, well, it doesn't matter, because without your ether gear, how can you stop me? And in that moment, her ether gear activates, because we cut outside, and...
She's fine! Cleve's fine! She got punched by a giant into the earth! And she's just like, oh, little bruise, oh...
She got football spiked into the planet. She's just got some dirt scratches on her. She's just like, don't worry, I can still cancel his ether gear canceler. It's fucking wild. We got inside. Holy's like, oh, thank goodness Jin's sister's alive, so they'll start their fight. That's the chapter. Man, it's such a fucking suck. Dude, who gives a shit about Holy? Like, what was this chapter? Like, no one knows this dude. This isn't like a twist. This isn't like a crazy reveal. No one knows this guy.
I mean, this is the kind of twist that if you pull it out of context, you tell someone that, like, has never read any Eden Zero, never read any of, like, Mashle Mihiro's entire canon of stuff, and you tell them, yeah, so... the hero goes into space and it turns out her ally is there. Her ally reveals that he actually caused the traumatic incident in her childhood because he's got this warped sense of what makes people good. He thinks that good people need to have bad people to oppose them. So in order to make his order really, really good, he actually invented villains and gave them power so that they could oppose them. So it's like, that's a giant cataclysmic story-altering twist. This just thrown at the 20th most important character in this story to make her story slightly more complex than it was when it was just like, oh, a bad person, you know, killed my family. It's like, no, a different bad person killed my family is basically what it amounts to. All this effort to set up some guy that we've never met before, have no context for why he's important except that he's part of the same group that Holy is. Ooh, the Horatio Sace, Galactica, Interstellar, whatever the fuck, whichever one it is. And oh, he invented one of the members. And I also invented those guys over there! Take my word for it, I guess. It has no bearing on their stories.
It's so, like, the closest thing I can compare this to is when Bleach was like, oh, the Goku was behind everything, and Aizen was kind of quietly manipulating it to make sure all these events happened, which is also not a great twist. These are fantastically difficult twists to make satisfying because it places everything into a whole new context, and oftentimes to a very unsatisfying degree. But at least in that case where it's like, all right, well, this was supposed to be the explanation for how Orihime and Chad got their powers. There were question marks there. There was never a single person who questioned, how did Emperor Nero get to power? How did Drac and Joe get it? Like, these aren't, like, this isn't like a reveal that changes things. It just makes sure it's like, how did he do these things? Like, did he give Nero his artifact dice, which are supposedly like pieces of mother or something like that? Like, what does that mean? What does that context suggest? Like, no one questioned why. Like, yeah, it was a little weird. Elsie was listed on like the list of criminals, but like it also kind of created this context of like, all right, the Eurasia and Six Galactica aren't really criminals. It's just like these are the most influential people in the galaxy. And now it's him like, no, I had to do this list because I'm just a devious little so-and-so and I wanted evil to flourish. You're like, then why aren't all of them serial killers? Why are those why are there was just a normal ass lady on that list. She just was in a church. Like what does that mean?
It's almost like a different writer came in for this to introduce this element because of the retroactive continuity that gets added here of like, oh no, it was me who brought Drac and Joe to power and stuff. It's like, well, why'd you name Nero and Drac and Joe? It's like, well, because those guys are dead and no longer relevant to the story. But he's got to clarify, it's like, oh, but Aknoella and Ziggy, who are still active villains, no, I didn't create them. They rose independently because you know, if we just say that those two are a result of him, then it's like, oh well, who cares about them? They're just this loser made them. It's like, no, we don't have to care about them. It's such ultimately none of it matters because this guy will be presumably dead in like 5 chapters
Yeah,
tops. Like
he's just a normal ass fairy tale villain at this point, like, or hero villain at this point. Like, this guy's not going to be memorable. You're just going to be like, oh yeah, like at some point down the line, like somewhere down the line, I'm going to quiz you on villains from fucking Eden Zero, and you're going to be like, oh yeah, I kind of remember that.
what was his name? It
was
what were you calling him?
Hey Lung, come on.
Hey Lung, yeah.
It's German for cure.
Okay.
I like the idea that when it goes to Black Clover and a German name comes up, I'll do everything in my power to change it to something easier. But in this series, I'm disrespecting it by just going to a German name.
Oh God.
Yeah, this I don't know. Like, part of me is like, I don't know, man. It's dopey, but like, I hate this character archetype as a whole. Like the idea of like a cosmic entity that exists to create balance, so it constantly creates conflict. It's always something that I find extremely disappointing and boring to read. And then this was just a bad hero version of it.
Yeah, pretty much. It sucked. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's move on then to Akane-banashi. Story 29, A Wonderful World. A cool picture of all of the all of Shikama's apprentices hanging out together.
Is that
it's
the
nice
Breakfast Club?
It is. I think it is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it is the Breakfast Club. I'm trying to see. He's fine as the Judd Nelson. I don't know if I dig her as the Anthony Michael Hall character. Was Anthony Michael Hall the nerd or was he the jock?
Hang on, let me look at it.
I'm blanking on it.
Yeah, she's playing the nerd character in that shot.
Yeah, I couldn't remember who. Yeah, no, Emilio Estevez was the nerd.
He was the jock. No. Emilio Estevez was the jock.
Estevez was the jock. Anthony Michael Hall was the nerd. So I don't know if I dig her in the Anthony Michael Hall role. I feel like that's where history dude should be. But you know, can't win them all.
Yeah, I could do that. I think that it was just a matter of composition of having her in the middle.
Okay,
but
absolutely.
Yeah.
I do love this cover page. It's good.
Yeah. So the competition's over. The interview between, the conversation between Akane and Isho Arakawa is over, and so Akane is riding the train along with Guriko and her teacher, and she's clearly deep in thought. Her teacher's kind of worried about her, wondering what she's thinking about. She's like, I can't really, ask her what the conversation was about. And she's kind of worried because, like, man, all this Rakugo stuff, it's way more demanding than I thought it was. They arrive at Shigama's home, and Akane's teacher is like, I mean, I know it's proper to visit your master's home to report on this stuff, but I don't really know why I'm here. And Guriko says, well, apparently he wanted to meet you too. But before they can carry on that conversation, the final of Akane's fellow apprentices shows up. Maikeru, who is the long-haired guy who's wearing a Hawaiian shirt, and he says, like, yeah, Master Shigama's out working, and we get a bit of an introduction to Maikeru, and he's the eldest brother of all of them.
Man, this is the one I said was the boy I would date in the harem game. You pick nerd boy. So
gotcha. That sounds like me. So so he starts to kind of like be a little bit hard on Akane, being like, yeah, I heard you were in that student Rakugo competition, and I feel kind of left out because you didn't tell me about it. And so Akane starts to apologize. He's like, no, I wasn't fishing for an apology or anything. I'm just saying you need to do something for me. And then they immediately sit down to have a drink together, and they've got snacks and stuff. There's beer out. Akane is clearly taken aback by all this. Like, wait, what's going on? And why are we doing this? And Maikeru says, like, well, I mean, I know that you were just in a student competition, but hey, you still won after that with that limitation that Master Shigema gave you. So you did fantastic. You overcame the odds. So we're going to celebrate your hard work. And Akane's reaction to this is to kind of stare at him and just think to herself, "But you didn't do anything.
You weren't involved in this arc to begin with."
Koguma says, like, look, don't overthink what he's doing. He just wants to drink. It's fine. So then we find out that Maikeru refers to Koguma as teddy bear, because that's kind of what Koguma sounds like in Japanese. And Koguma gets really upset. He's like, don't call me that. I've told you not to call me that. Akane's teacher feels really awkward, especially when Maikeru starts to flirt with her, which makes sense. Seem like they're roughly equivalent ages. And I love the comment that he makes, because Koguma's like, come on, she's a teacher, leave her alone. And Maikeru says, every woman has an equal right to fall in love with me, which is...
He's all about agency. They all deserve the chance.
Right. Kyoji shows up then, and he's got a little present for Akane. This might be my favorite detail in the chapter, because Miku, the boss at the Umi shop that Akane helped out with, heard about Akane's win and gave her a little present. Isn't that nice? It's very sweet.
Exceptionally sweet, yes.
And Kyoji, kind of starts to bring her out of her shell because he's like, hey, look, I know you might not be in the mood for what's going on here, but people here want to celebrate your success, and there's nothing better in the entire world than that. If there's any time to forget about your troubles for a bit, shouldn't it be now? And then Guriko gives him a drink, and he immediately passes out on the floor because he's just really, really, really bad at handling alcohol, apparently. But when Kyoji does recover, but he is immediately like, we should dance, because he's drunk off his ass, and he says that everyone should do the Kapore folk dance. And Maikeru is all for it. He's like, I'll play the shamisen, and they start all causing a ruckus while Kai starts to panic. And as this is happening, you can see Master Shigema's feet approaching as things get more and more hectic. He comes through the door while Kyoji is dancing around. Maikeru is getting a shamisen out. People are arguing, and they all slowly turn to look at their master, who's looking at them all in grave disappointment, and says, look at all of you. What is this disgraceful mess? If you're going to dance, put your soul into it.
And like such
really
a comedically jokey face too. You're like, this is a side of this series I don't think I've seen.
No, it's a very different chapter for this series. Maikeru also, he's tuning his shamisen. He says to Akane, if you're going to be an entertainer, you need to put your all into enjoying and giving enjoyment. And, do you know how to play any instruments? Do you know any dances? Guy's like, no. And he says, well, singing, dancing, music, acrobatics, being broadly skilled in the arts gets you far. Rakugo is not such a straightforward discipline that you can become a master just by practicing how you speak. My point is, you've got to try out some other things too. And so Akane stands up, and they start to celebrate together. We've got Koguma playing the drums, Maikeru is playing the shamisen, Shigema and the other apprentices are all dancing the kapore, and Akane's teacher is clapping along. It's very, very sweet, nice big 2-page spread of them all celebrating together. Yes. Some time passes. The apprentices and Akane's teacher leave. Kyoji is being supported, and that leaves Akane together with Shigema. And he says, I hear you won the Karaku Cup. Well done. And Akane just cuts to the point and says, Isho Arakawa told me the reason he expelled Dad. So Shigema tells her to pull up a seat so that they can have a chat. And it looks like we're going to get right back to doing some important, serious plot stuff. So,
yeah. Good chapter. This is not like a high stakes chapter or one with a whole lot of like plot to it. We do get to meet my guru for the first time. Really meet him, I should say. And you know, it's fun. It's nice seeing them have fun, and I do like the idea of like, hey, this is also like a notion of like you should expand your skill set, Akane, because there are things you can use to like utilize more of your stuff, and it's just like good to get like a moment to like stop in the story and just like have fun. So I liked it.
The Big Ten stuff all happens. Like, yeah, let's have some time to enjoy it before we move on to like, all right, now the next part of our plan to get revenge or whatever, goal we have in mind long term for Akane. It's like, let's stop and spell the roses for a little bit. And it is very, very cute to see them all playing and dancing together.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Let's talk about aliens area.
Oh man, it's got an introduction. Yeah. Oh no, Quinn, that's a very long introduction. Are you going to be able to do that every time we talk about aliens area?
For the next 13 years or however long.
That's right. Chapter number 14, Light My Fire. Oh, that's bad taste. Don't do that. So, a mysterious flame-setting dickhead has come in and murdered the fuck out of Akina and the aliens that she was taking care of. Tatsumi looks at him just standing over there burning corpses and says, "What the hell are you doing?" It's like, he's standing over there burning corpses, dude.
Like, I kind of felt like this was pretty self-apparent what I was doing. I didn't really think I needed to explain it more, but all right.
Yeah, he goes for like a cool bastard line because he says, "You could say I'm settling an old debt." Tatsumi's kind of in shock. He can't really believe that there's burning corpses behind him. The guy reveals that he has a tool which takes the form of like a Zippo lighter, but it's the source of like some sort of fireball attack. Shiraku uses his gravity thing to push Tatsumi out of the way so that the fireball harmlessly goes past him. He calls for backup right away, and the attacker gets on his cell phone, gets in touch with someone and says like, I took care of the job, killed the defector, exterminated the aliens, Foreign Affairs 5 spotted me. Yeah, okay, I'll avoid them. Cool. I'll be leaving now. Tatsumi tries to stop him, and Shiraku immediately just says, "Don't go after him. Because we need to lock down the area. There's regular civilians around, and we can't let them see the alien bodies."
Fair enough.
So that happens. The guy is still on the phone, and he's like, "What? No, not tonight." "All right, just a little. I'll meet up with you for drinks, but only until the last train of the night, okay?" So Tatsumi, of course, gets really pissed off because the guy has just committed arson and murder, and is just casually talking about getting some drinks with his boss.
How could he?
What an asshole. So Tatsumi again is like, "How dare you!" and goes to run after him, and Shiraku's like, "Stop, Tatsumi!" And Tatsumi just stops and distracts because I guess he's immediately whipped. Shiraku does nothing to stop him. He just immediately freezes. And he's like, "Look, we need to handle the scene of an incident. That's the rules of Foreign Affairs 5. And Tatsumi's like, "Oh, are you kidding me?" And the guy says, "Your organization sucks. Your rules impede the accomplishment of your goals. You talk big about humans coexisting with aliens, but not only do you let both humans and aliens die, you're also letting me escape. A3, on the other hand, is pure and simple. We hate aliens, so we want to kill all of them. Compared to you guys, we're pure. That's why we get results." Tatsumi looks at Akina's burning corpse. He starts to throw up. The guy leaves without anyone stopping him. Tatsumi cries because people are dead. He looks over at Akina's burning corpse and he, I guess, imagines her and the aliens telling him to save himself? Maybe it's an imagination bit? I don't know. So Shiraku now is like, Tatsumi, are you okay? Can you move? But there are people starting to gather around. They're stopped by Ginji, one of the agents from Shiraku's unit. And they've arrived at the scene, disguised as police officers to kind of stop people from going inside. Shiraku uses his gravity unit to VoIP Tatsumi all the way out of the building and into a pole, which, you know, he couldn't have done that to stop the guy before he got away. No, couldn't have possibly done it. So they go outside as the building continues to burn up. Shiraku goes over to Tatsumi and is like, are you okay? I mean, I just very casually walked out of this building. I could have, like, dragged you out, but instead I force pushed you out for some reason. Tatsumi is like, but the aliens and Akina were just working normal lives. Why'd this happen? And Shiraku is like, well, that's our job to find out. People just died. How are you so calm? And Shiraku says, because this is my job. And Tatsumi says, you act like you don't care. It's all about work, work, work. And he grabs Shiraku by the jacket. And then he sees that Shiraku looks a little sad. He's like, yeah, it's work. But getting angry doesn't accomplish anything. The law doesn't allow revenge, and we must obey the law. There's only one thing we must do, and it may not be to your liking, but we arrest perpetrators. That's our duty as investigators. And as an investigator who arrests perpetrators, that is why I let that perpetrator just casually walk away without doing anything to stop him. Cool. So the good guys to this series suck.
Yeah, pretty much. This is like, I don't know. I feel like there's like almost a, like, I don't know. I don't want to say there's a meta commentary. It just feels like this book just goes to show how fucking shitty and garbage fucking like government protection institutions are in the long run. Because you see this sort of thing happen, you're like, these dudes suck. These are worthless. These dudes are awful. Like, they're fucking constantly held back by bureaucracy, not actually interested in protecting the people they're going to. You know, like, these guys are fucking doofuses. If they didn't have the ability to manipulate gravity, I don't even know why you'd make a manga about them.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it seems as though, unless there is some twist later, it seems as though the most interesting character that was introduced in this series was just fucking refrigerated, and seemingly for no reason, because it looks like the lesson that Tatsumi just has to learn is we have to follow the rules of the organization, which cool,
fun.
So this sucks, and I don't like it.
Yep, but you know what I do like? Blue box.
Blue box. Blue box is good.
Blue box.
So,
after I caught heat for making it my chapter of the week last week.
Quinn, we spent a little bit of time talking last week about how Ayame, aka Karen's little sister, was seemingly being introduced as a new love interest for Taiki. And that may still be the case. However,
they are still going to go that direction. But I actually do like that she was like, no, it was that other cute guy at that match. So, like, that guy was not our team. He doesn't go to our school.
He's a different school. So Ayame introduced herself. She is, going to be the badminton club's new manager. Everyone, has a moment to be like, oh, she's so cute. We've got a girl manager on the team. And Ayame just looks around between all the club members and she's like, where's the kid with the bowl cut? I saw him come to the gym a few weeks ago. You know, that aloof, scrawny macho kid with the bowl cut? And everyone's like, oh, you mean Yusa? He's from Sajikawa High. We just get this visual while this is happening of, like, Yusa just, preparing for some badminton practice or a match or something. Ayame's in the background going,
hottie alert.
So she clarifies, like, oh, so Yusa's not here. So you mean I'm not going to get to see him every day? No, he goes to another school. And I won't get to wash his tracksuit? But you want to do what? Well, goodbye, everybody.
She's just bolting. She's just like, it's been nice knowing you guys.
Just immediately gone.
My hunt continues.
Yeah, so she stopped and it was like, oh man, yeah. Oh god, I've forgotten his name. Cool. How are you? How are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's immediately like, he's like, yeah, yeah, Karen was right. You just had completely ulterior motives for the entire thing. That's why you volunteered. Ayame's like, I couldn't help it. Um, so they do try and point out, like, okay, look, we'll probably have another practice match with Yusa's team, and you might see him at tournaments. And in fact, that's probably the only way you would run into him at all. So Ayami very casually like turns around, like, all right, I guess we can work together for a little bit. Uh, Taiki is entrusted with showing Ayame what to do, so he takes her to the storage room, where they prepare the cooler for the team at that big one of those big horizontal sinks, and then he shows her the locker room, which is like, guys, come on, like, what are you doing? It's so messy. Um, she is horrified by what she sees, and she's like, "Does nobody clean this up? I cannot believe this." Uh, and Taiki is just like, "Wow, she's got no filter." I mean, she doesn't seem like a bad person, but she's just like, "Wow, she really doesn't hold back." Ayame sees a spider and like nearly Scooby Doo jumps into Taiki's arms, going, "Ah, spider!" Um, and so that happens just as Chinatsu is passing by the locker room, and she kind of just casually looks inside. Ayame runs out to Chinatsu, who of course she knows. And Taiki freaks out a little because, like, Ayame
I
just
didn't kiss her!
screamed and ran away from him.
Pushes her down on the ground and jumps off the railings.
Chinatsu is just like deadpan. Inamata, what did you do? Merciless. But Ayame still sees the spider, and she like jumps towards Taiki again, grabs him by the shoulder, which Chinatsu watches, and then Chinatsu very casually hits a Kleenex, picks up the spider, and tosses it out the window. And Ayame is like, "Oh, you're so brave," and Taiki thinks, like, "Wait a minute, I thought that Chinatsu hated bugs," and Chinatsu looks at her hand like she is awakened.
I too have the power to fight.
It's such a great joke. It's just a small
now,
moment.
Now, Pyra can fight.
Oh man. So she gets the lowdown about the fact that Ayame is now the manager, and Ayame's like, it's kind of dismissive towards Taiki because she's like, "Yeah, this guy's showing me the ropes," and Taiki's like, "You don't even know my name. It's Taiki Inamata," and she says, "Oh, okay, I'll call you Inota because I'm not gonna remember that." So she's giving him a nickname. She says goodbye to Chinatsu, whom she calls Chi. By the way, I don't know if I've been mentioning that the whole time, so it seems like it's just, in her general character to just give people nicknames. So Taiki continues showing her the ropes, and as they leave, Chinatsu thinks to herself, like, I wonder if this is what Karen was talking about, because, she's seeing Taiki interact with a girl, and also like, oh, man, and yeah. So that all continues. While Ayame is going about her business, she passes over to Hina when she's trying to fill up the cooler. And Hina's like, oh, this is the girl who's the badminton team's new manager. Okay. And then she sees that Ayame has kind of big boobs. And someone had to bring up to us, just fully, I was like, look, guys, Blue Box did a boob joke. It's like, yep, Chest Envy. It finally happened. It was bound to happen eventually, I guess.
It is as tastefully done, I suppose you could say. But, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, Blue Box can no longer be in the recap. I found it mildly amusing that Hina's just like, oh, no.
I can't win against her. Just like she's immediately down on herself. So it's back. She's looking around everyone practicing. And she's like, okay, what do we do now? And Taiki says, okay, yeah, I'll teach you how to keep score. And so Ayame scoots in, is like, all right, let me see how you do it. And Taiki has to kind of bring up the awkward subject of, you're kind of getting in my space a lot. Like, look, I don't want people like spreading rumors about us, so can you like keep your distance a little bit from me? And Ayame looks at Taiki, and then she's like, oh, you're that guy who was in the Snow White play, and you're the guy that the rumors have been being spread about. Okay. And she's like, yeah, I guess it must be kind of hard hearing everyone talk about you like that, about whether or not you guys kissed, but everyone's making such a weirdly big deal about it. You shouldn't worry about it. And she refers to it as some little kiss, which gets Taiki like really worked up. It's like, what do you mean some little kiss? It's a kiss!
What's the kiss?
But Ayame says something that is very wise, surprisingly, which is like, okay, instead of worrying about the opinions of other than worrying about the opinions of those who actually care about you, there's no harm in just ignoring what people say. Which, in general, as far as high school is concerned, yeah, she's mostly right. But Taiki still says like, okay, but can you just like kind of like give me some space? And I was like, okay. But oh no, another spider! And she just grabs him by the shoulder again, leans in, and again, Chinatsu happens to be passing by right at that moment, and she just kind of like awkwardly turns around, is like, I'm gonna go get a drink, and just leaves. And Taiki, of course, is just like, no, I didn't kiss her! No!
I didn't kiss her! He starts pushing people downstairs. No!
And we end on the punchline of Chinatsu going to get some insect repellents.
There are a lot of spiders in this school, so they probably should get a couple cans of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I like this chapter. It was fun. I do like... I didn't say it, but I did have a small suspicion. I was like, I wonder if they're going to start that she's actually interested in someone else. I thought it was going to be the bald dude on the team.
That would be funny.
Something like that. And then she's like, this dude sucks. But in the process, she's like, oh, Taiki's kind of cool. But I do like that. And I just found it to be a genuinely pretty fun chapter.
Yeah. And we can immediately see like that, there's been no time wasted in her kind of throwing a monkey wrench into the love triangle between Chinatsu and Ina and Taiki. And we're just getting started.
A spanner in the works.
Yeah, sure. Is that...
No, I just heard a bunch of people talk about that recently, and I was like, this will be interesting if they listen to this podcast as well. But they don't. So I don't know why I said it retroactively now. Shouldn't have interrupted. Should have just let us move on.
All right. Ginka and Glüna is the name of our new series in Shonen Jump.
Nick, I do believe it's pronounced Ginka and Glüna.
I'm not going to even try. It says
I
the G is silent.
I believe it's like Luna, something like that.
It says the G is silent in the captions of this chapter. I'm not going to try for it.
Now,
I'm sorry.
What if fucking G Flugel fucking pops up like a little fucking weasel and it's just like, that's not actually how you pronounce it. You'd want to get back at them by being like, fucking Ginka and Luna and Artemis the cats from Sailor Moon. You do something like that, right? You just fucking dunk on them. Hey, Tursky Verde, that's not how you say the German.
I'm sorry.
Well, it's like Swedish stuff, so it's all the same to me. Like, once you get off of Ireland or like England, you move a little bit further to the right and you pass like France, like then suddenly all my accents become the same.
Until you hit Russia, basically.
Oh, those Svidania company, they're very different.
But like Italian, all of that stuff, it's just all Scandinavian. It's all Scandinavian. So, oh, this is a different kind of series. I'm not really sure how to go into it. I think that it's gonna be easier to just kind of like do mostly broad strokes for this.
Sure.
The series begins with the heroine of our story, Luna, just kind of like by herself in this Arctic wilderness, trying to like find food and stuff. She comes across, I think she doesn't even build it, it seems like a snowman, and she like puts her kind of like hat, cap, helmet, it's like a pilot's helmet thing, and scarf on it, and it makes into a proper snowman. And yeah, she just lives by herself in the mountains, where there are weird magical talking winter creatures that are observing her. Apparently she's just by herself because she's trying to become a magician and learn magic. And when she gets when she gets to her shelter later on, she sees that her the door's been broken down, and so she's like, "Oh, did a bear break in? Lucky me, I can have bear stew tonight," which is a great moment. She just gets an axe off the wall. It's like, I'm going to kill a bear and I'm going to eat well tonight. And instead, she sees the snowman that she put the helmet and the scarf on before. It has come to life, Frosty style. But she doesn't realize that until she's already attacked it with the axe. It goes into his head. There's a silly moment. And he introduced himself as Ginka, and he has eaten all of her snow bananas, which he's really upset about. And so he says, like, yeah, well, I'm here because, you know, you did something very good for me, so I'm going to pay you back. She's just really pissed off because he broke her shelter and took her food, which he's like, it's fine. But she gets really pissed off at him. She's going to make him pay her back by like catching fish so that she'll have food to eat. And he does not doing a good job until he just magically makes like the entire lake he's fishing in just float above them, and like deposits a bunch of fish for her. And then Luna gets really excited and she's like, "Can you teach me magic?" And magic is indicated as like, yeah, it's this really lost art. Ginka says, like, look, you know, this is going to be a really huge hassle for you to learn. It'll take you a long time. And Luna just says, look, if I were a magician, I could survive better. I could start a fire without firewood. I could catch as many fish as I wanted. And I could fly anywhere. I could go anywhere in the world. And she takes out the book that she had been reading earlier. And she says, did you know that there's an island where it's so warm you can just swim in the ocean all year round? And I know you can't become a magician without talent. Of course, I don't think I could become one. But Ginka says, well, yeah, with that attitude, no, you can't. Magic is not meant for people who only see their limitations. After all, there's nothing a magician can't do. So she's like, all right, I want to become one. No, I will. I'm going to be a magician. I will definitely do it. And we cut ahead to years later immediately. Like, it's a very sudden jump. It's like, I think, what, half a decade later. She's taller.
She goes from being like seemingly like a little kid to looking like she's at least like mid to late teenager, like 15 to 17 range.
And now she's like openly talking with the animals around her as well.
And they're like, Luna. Fingers curling for you.
So
that's how every character in this series talks to me.
Like, she's grown like an entire forest around herself that's growing fruit, and when she picks the fruit, she comes out to see Ginka and delivers it to him, and he's like, okay, yeah. I mean, I told you to create fruit, and you made a forest, but it's fine. What's important is the taste. And he tries it out. He's like, yeah, it's fresh, it's moist, it's sweet, it's perfect. You pass. There's nothing left I have to teach you. You can leave the mountains now. And Luna is immediately like, yeah. And she goes and goes cartwheeling through the snow. And Ginka says, normally to become a magician, it takes, you've got to start within 30 months of birth, which is insane to me. Um, but he says it's difficult for a human steeped in common sense and convention to become a magician. Even if you start training while young, it usually takes 20 years to master, and you were able to do it in 5 years. You worked really hard. You're amazing. And as he goes on, like, we keep on like not seeing his face, which I guess would kind of undermine the moment because his face is constantly this like goofy smile expression. So instead, like during this serious moment, like instead of zooming in on his face, we like are zooming in on his charcoal buttons. And he's like, look, you can do things that others can't. So just don't forget about your experiences from when you were normal and try to be kind to others as much as you can. And Luna's like, yeah, okay, come on. Let's pack our bags because we should go. We should leave tomorrow. And he says, Luna, I'm not going. And she's like, well, why not? And he says, what do you mean why? I never told you I wanted to leave. I like it here in the mountains. I helped you become a magician because that's what I promised. So we're not going to see each other again now. Bye. And he walks off. Ginka goes and literally drowns her sorrows by dipping herself in a frozen lake upside down.
Right? Like, you just see the fucking legs hanging straight out of the water. You're like, oh my god. They're like, nah, that's how she chills.
This very old-looking deer comes to Glüna and says that, like, Ginka was just... This is the most Swedish chef-looking of all of them. So, she's trying to be like, I mean, yeah, he's not obliged to join me or anything, it's fine. But the deer says, come with me, I want to show you something. And leads her into a different part of the forest where there is very strong magical energy. And the deer says that 2 magicians fought here years ago. It was a fierce battle, so fierce that their magic warped the time and space of this area. And there's like a dinosaur skeleton and also a plane and the sun or something like that all in this area. Is pretty weird to look at.
Yeah, it looks like the ground is made of coral, or at least there's like a trail of it, and definitely some like kind of statue. It's a lot of cool visual stuff going on there.
And the deer points to one of the shadows and says, that's Ginka from when he was still human. The other... And we get this, like flashback to a confrontation between Ginka and this other magician, and how they were trading barbs while they were attacking and stuff. And while this was happening, Ginka basically survived the battle by letting his soul leave his body behind. But the magician said, "I won't let you go without paying a price, though." So Ginka's body was taken from him, but he used the snow from the mountains to create a body of his own. But as a snowman, he can only live in this environment. He can't use magic otherwise, and he can't sustain his body otherwise. So the deer's like, look, so, Ginka doesn't hate you. He literally can't leave. He had made up his mind to push Glüna away so that she wouldn't feel compelled to stay behind to help him. But this gets Luna to pep up immediately because she's like, oh, so Ginka wants to leave and go with me. In that case, I can just take him with me without having any regrets. So that's no problem. This is a problem she can actually solve because, she won't be going against her friend's wishes. So she dashes off to Ginka, and like she's clearly like using magic to go fast, but her body looks really scary for a moment while she's dashing through the snow. She picks up Ginka and dives off the cliff that he was perched on. And she's like, I get it. Yeah, I don't plan to stay here with you out of kindness, but I also refuse to compromise. I'm going to travel the world with you. We're going to see lots of beautiful things. We're going to eat delicious food, and I'm going to do everything because we'll meet different people from different places, and we'll get you back into your body. You're the one who taught me there's nothing a magician can't do. And Ginka's very moved by this because of how much she's grown. And Luna's like, yeah, I came up with a plan to keep you alive too. So she throws him all the way off of the snowy plains He lands in a melting pile, and he's like, "Whoa! I'm out of the mountains, and there's the sun." Ah! It's turning into a puddle. But Glüna arrives in time and just like frost breaths him better into a full body, and he lands in this big triumphant pose, like "Yay!" And all of the environment of the mountains basically are, surrounding his body, and so he jumps up in celebration because he can survive off the mountains. And Luna's like, "Yeah, it's easy to recreate these conditions because I grew up in all of them and stuff." So they agree to set off together. But the chapter's not over because a giant two-headed goat monster with 4 tits shows up.
Nick, please stop staring. Their eyes are up there and up there.
So they're like, "All right, let's beat this thing." And so Luna's like, "Yeah," and she taps Ginka's back and then draws part of his body back into a tube so that she can blow into the tube and blow him up like a balloon, so he turns into a giant snowman, and they have a kaiju battle. Just cause, and all the animals of the mountain come out to watch the fight, and Ginka casts his palm forward and blows up the Gobas.
And all the forest spirits are like, "You can do it."
So yeah, the two friends are going to get ready to set off on an adventure, and they're like, "We're gonna get Ginka's body back," and they start to race down the mountain, and that's how their journey begins. The journey to find Ginka's stolen body.
So 2 things. First, Nick, what Digimon does Ginka look like?
The one that immediately springs to mind is Frigimon.
There you go. You remembered him. I had to stop. I was like, what the fuck was his name? Chilimon? Coldmon?
All that giant 2-headed 4-titted goat monster needed was a little Sub-Zero ice punch.
Second, how do you like Luna's design? Because at first I didn't like it, but then when she gets the hat and a little bit more like accoutrement to it, I was like, I like this design.
It is a little bit weird.
I feel like she needs like a cloak or something. She needs like a cape. I don't know.
It does seem like she's kind of incomplete when she's just in the just the tube top and the long sleeve stuff. I do like the idea that it really conveys that because she's gotten all of her magical training and stuff, the frozen environment no longer affects her, and it really carries across because she's just freaking got bare feet out in the snow and stuff, and she doesn't mind it. But yeah, it does seem a little bit incomplete. I wouldn't mind if that's just kind of like her, Goku takes the training pads off kind of form. But yeah, I think that it does seem incomplete.
I think she needs the hat always in the forever. I like this one. This is like a fun magical adventure series. I don't know if we've had sort of it's been a while, I think, since we've had like a fun magical adventure series that didn't also have to be like, well, there's yokai or something like that in there. I guess Hunter's Guild to a certain extent was kind of like a fairy tale adventure series. But I'm excited for this. It feels like it's going to occupy a different space. I like this first chapter a lot. I thought it had a lot of good emotions to it. It flowed. The art in it is really, really nice. If anything bad happens to Ginka, I would kill everyone in this room and then myself. I don't know. I like his big dopey face. It makes me laugh. And, good first chapter.
I did quite like it. I did really enjoy it. I thought it was like, oh, this is a nice little bond that these two have. This is a cool adventure. Stuff looks different. It's, drawn well, but also it's got its own kind of aesthetic because all the designs are very different. You've got, no one in Shonen Jump really looks like Ginka right now. All that being said, I immediately was like, Nick, don't get attached. Do not get attached to this. This is going to end in 16 chapters. Don't get attached. So, I am going to just kind of I was just kind of I'm just going to rip that Band-Aid off right now so I don't suffer. Okay.
That's fair. That is fair. Good stuff, though. I really, really liked it. Let's move on to
Yeah, I've got a puzzle for you, Quinn.
Funakai.
No,
Okay.
you gave me that one. Remember?
I thought we could redo them. All right, fine.
No. All right, here's the clue.
Funakai wasn't as deep of a well to pull 2 puzzles out of.
He had multiple gimmicks. Come on.
Yeah. Remember when he was SmackDown's #1 announcer?
That was my favorite period. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it was the least racist period of his character. So.
True. All right. Here's the clue. Petrification Pro pierces plaster, promptly plummets.
Petrification Pro.
Mm-hmm.
Pierces plaster.
Mm-hmm.
Plummets. What was it?
Yeah, promptly plummets.
Promptly plummets. Promptly plummets. Someone who took a big fall.
Mm-hmm.
Petrification. What was it? Petrification Professor?
Pro.
Okay, pro. Petrification Pro. Someone who. Stone Cold?
No.
Stone Cold who took a big fall?
No.
Stone Cold tripping down the stairs in his own house. This is the end.
No one should have picked up that Lego.
Petrification. Who would like stun people or turn them to stone? This is an active wrestler.
No.
Okay. Is it a former WWE wrestler?
Yes.
But not by much. Like, were they in WWE for more than like a couple years?
As
As an active wrestler, I guess. Just clarify.
they were. I will say, however, that this character was not WWF or WWE.
Right. Ooh. This is a tough one. I might have to pass on this one. I'm not as knowledgeable as those other companies.
This is a case that you would know about. I know for certain you would know about this.
All right, let me put on my big thinking brain again.
Okay.
Would this have been a TNA wrestler?
No, it would not have.
Okay.
Well, I don't think so. Maybe they brought a lot of people.
God
you know.
knows. Was this a big ECW wrestler?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Almost certainly no.
WCW?
Yes.
Okay. Big WCW wrestler.
Not big.
Is it Sean Stasiak?
I mean, you're in the roughly the right ballpark.
Okay, let's start running through mediocre WCW wrestler Sean Stasiak, Chuck Palumbo.
It was
Chris
no one who
Kanyon.
came. It was no one who came over in the invasion.
Damn. All right. Is it
you're
Goldberg?
I think you're focusing a little bit too much on the first part of the clue.
All right.
I really think you can get this.
Middle part again.
Pierces plaster. Promptly plummets.
Oh, Taskmaster, Shockmaster, whatever his name was.
That's right. It's
through the wall.
The Shockmaster.
That's an excellent one. I do like that one. Yeah. I think next week I've been watching a lot of TikToks, and there's a thing they'll do where people will have like 60 seconds to guess somebody. One person has like the answer, and they just ask yes or no questions to see if they can do it. So I'm going to start timing you because we like to see how much time we could waste. So I want to see if we can accurately waste 1 minute of our audience's time each week making Nick guess wrestlers.
I'm sure we can do that. Yeah.
Professor Peanuts is also losing his shit behind me, so
I can see that. Yeah.
You might see some stuff going on. He's absolutely wilding out.
All right.
Let's talk about these piano boys going wild.
Yeah, it's chapter 48. So. I mean, it's so like the note, but it's the chapter title is so. So Sora Chica starts playing musical notes, and then the coolest fucking thing. Yes, Professor. Lucky listens to the music, and we just see several pages straight of him just standing and musical notes appearing in the background. And at first there is a blank background behind him, and then fog, mist rolls in, and in the mist he sees a shape that looks vaguely like himself, which solidifies and comes towards him, and when it approaches, the figure, the lucky doppelganger, has the Otogami eyes, the piano eyes that Sorachika has.
Yes.
And more than halfway through the chapter, we get the first dialogue in it, which is Sayonji just saying, like, yeah, the sound. Sorachika Otogami's sound has no intent behind it. It's empty, without impurities, where nothing exists. Then, with that sound, he creates the sky from nothing. To everyone witnessing that sky, he shows and makes them feel what they believe in the most. And so, of course, Lucky is seeing himself because he believes in his ego the most right now. But the narration continues. What you see and feel from the sound is what you consider to be important. It can be a person, an object, an opinion, a creed, a scripture, and that is why his sound is never wrong. His performance is divine. No musical analysis is necessary. Even if he makes mistakes, his sound is still in front of you. And Lucky sees himself say, "This is the ultimate La Campanella." The sound of his playing is telling Lucky that his song is great. And narration just says, yeah, Sorachika wins with just those words. What's in front of you seems like it just appears. On a deeper psychological level, an inexplicable pull you can't resist takes over your thoughts, making you believe that his way is correct. Well, it's what your inner psyche is showing you, so of course it makes sense. This is the work of a god. And Sayonji's like, I've appeared in front of myself, so that means I believe in myself the most. Although, seems to have pigtails in this inner visual, so.
I want Sadame to go out to play his piece.
Sadame, not Sayonji.
And he's just like, I forgot the piece, so I'm just gonna do chopsticks. Like he's off key and shit, and everyone's just like, I don't know which one really came out ahead in this.
This is amazing.
It is so extra. Like legitimately, the chapter opens with Sorachika opening his piano Sharingan and activating it, and then just fucking traps Lucky in a genjutsu of piano nonsense for like 7 straight pages and 2-page spreads, and it's so extra and extravagant. But that's what makes PPPPP so very fucking good.
Yeah. I really like this. It's very, very weird. And just, yeah, it's great. Here you go.
Yes. Excellent stuff. Nick, we were too harsh, some would say, about Tokyo Demon Bright Story. Some have said, hey, you fucks. Don't say that. And to that I say, you were right. We were too harsh. This chapter, I think, is better than the first one. I'm just going to go on the record. I'm going to go on the record there. Nick, you may not agree.
I mean, the first chapter had stuff in it, so...
This one does too. Look, there's jokes that are a little bit better. Not great, but a little bit better. There's more of a sense of, like, identity. There's a disabled representation, which is awesome to see. That is something that's greatly appreciated. I just found it to be... It sort of delved a little bit more into this main character and, like, the situation they're in. It poses questions that aren't answered. and then like it ends. You know, I don't know. I thought it was good.
Chapter 2, Manaka in Love. So, yeah. So our protagonist wakes up, and Manaka ceiling cats him. Just pokes her head through a tile on the ceiling for some reason. Watch him, and he gets kind of annoyed at her, and they go down the hallway, and he's like, I'm going to change out of my pajamas, so don't come in. And Manaka's like, I would never spy on... And then she, like, kind of... She doesn't get embarrassed over this. Instead, she just, like, randomly remembers she didn't brush her teeth the previous day, so she gets embarrassed about that. And Matsuri, the older sister, comes out, and she's like, hey, can I borrow a toothbrush? I didn't brush my teeth yesterday. And Matsuri goes, no problem. I didn't brush either.
That's a little amusing. Like, they're both fucking irresponsible.
Ginta is annoyed because his very boring life has gotten briefly interrupted. We get like big proper introductions between Manaka and the three of them. Matsuri says the one joke that my brain acknowledged was a joke. I didn't laugh at it, but I was like, that was a joke, because she says, I'm a beautiful young girl of unknown age. You know, like, just she doesn't want to say what her age is, so she pretends like nobody knows what it is. Yeah. So then we get like this kind of whole big spiel about the house they live in, which, okay. They established that they also inherited a 3 million yen debt from Jinta's father, which they have apparently paid off roughly half of thus far. And Jinta is, talking about, the work he's got to do and stuff. And Matsuri's like, hey, I mean, I've got a plan to pay it off. Stop trying to push yourself. And Jinta's like, no, because I could get sick or injured. So I've got to work while I can and pay off the debt. I've promised that I'll do anything to protect our lives here. So let me do it. He's like 15. So, yep. They established briefly that the three of them didn't really talk to each other much until a couple years ago, but it's like, I mean, yeah, but Ginta, you would have been like 10 then, so whatever. Manaka says that she's happy to dine with them. Jinta's gonna go to his job, and she wants to come with, and he's too afraid of being turned into a fish with legs, so he lets her come with them. And they head off to one of his part-time jobs, which is to help out at a cafe. Which originally apparently he was going to help remodel it, which I don't know what the hell kind of work experience this kid has if he can help to remodel a building. But instead he's going to do something much more sane, which is, do part-time teenager stuff and help around the cafe. But he doesn't like doing customer service. But it's okay, Manaka will do that. The owner of the cafe is a wheelchair user. And what is her name? I forget her name. Manaka goes around serving people. There's just kind of a little joke where Jinta has to say, you see she's got horns, right? And Yoshihashi, the cafe owner, looks at her and is like, now she notices. Yes. Manaka keeps on trying to help out. She's apparently no good at cooking, because that's par for the course with love interests and romantic comedy mangas. There is apparently a thief, and the big plot hook is the fact that Ms. Yoshihashi, her bag that her late husband left for her was stolen. And they established that, like, oh yeah, it was this vintage bag. It was really valuable, but he spent the last of his savings buying it for me as a gift. And I loved it so much. I wanted to be buried with it. But what can I do now? I've got to let it go. That's horrendously sad. So, Jinta, and Manaka are given a break. They go and talk outside for a bit, and Jinta says, I don't know how people can steal other people's stuff. or Manaka says that, and Ginta says, well, they're afraid because they don't have money. Maybe money doesn't bring happiness, but if you don't have money, you can't protect your own well-being. He briefly has a flashback to when he was a kid, and I guess being helped out by his dad, it seems like. But he just kind of like immediately quashes the memory before we get any context of it. Manaka says like, yeah, that's the reason I want to be a burden to you. I want to help you out. And Ginta says, okay, look, you can do what you want, but you shouldn't, get too caught up in helping people because not all people are good people. And I'm also still not the great guy that you think I am. The thief has been spotted, and he is carrying Ms. Yoshihashi's bag just like through the street in the open because he's a bad thief. There's a joke about how Ginta can't speak good English. And there is a flashback, which really doesn't look like a flashback because the frames don't have any special coloration, so it's a little bit confusing.
That's bad.
Yeah. But they said it was like, oh yeah, I'll leave like this, apparently like they leave cake for Ms. Yoshihashi's like his portrait. She does it every day because she's still attached to him. And Jinta's like, it's okay, I get it. If I lost someone in my family, I'd probably do the same. So thinking about that makes him want to spring into action. And he just like, because he's like up on the second floor, he just like starts running across rooftops to go after the thief. And Manaka's like, I knew he was a great guy. And she goes after him so that they can catch the thief because this is also kind of an action manga. So
I'm getting the impression you're still not in love with it. And that's fine. I'll be honest, I don't love it either. I'm not as negative on it. I think it found a little bit better footing this week.
It's not even that I'm negative on it. It's that I have nothing positive on it. It's not that I think it's bad. I think that it's just got an absence of good or interesting things. So that's where I'm standing on it.
That's fair. Well, let's move on to Mashle, Magic and Muscles, Chapter 123, Dot Barrett and the 100-Fold Rage. So last time, Lance sacrificed himself to protect Dot. Dot exploded with power, and that's what's happening right now. We see the cross appear on his forehead. Order Maddles, like, holy shit, I just felt a threateningly huge level of magic. And he's like, is it famine up there? Yes, famine. And he's like, no, it's further away. Someone has unleashed an immense level of power. We see all of, like, the wounds on fucking Dot's face start healing. And Epidem's like, oh, that mark, I've heard rumors. A rare breed of people whose magic power fluctuates in response to their emotional state. Utter fiends for battle, whose wrathful temperaments and vast power threaten the fabrics of magical society. The Ira Cruz. That's it, Nick. That is the lore.
That's pretty much it, yes.
I fucking love. There was no greater explanation for this. This is the end of the story, by the way. We probably won't get any further clarification. What is the Ira Cruz? I don't know. Some dudes who liked fighting, and they got stronger based on their magic and their emotions, which I think is also how all magic works in comparison to how we've seen things in the story. So
Dot is a Saiyan. That's all we need to know.
I was like, didn't like last, like the chapter or 2 chapters before this, fucking Lance couldn't activate his Bankai because he wasn't fucking in sync enough with Dot? Like, isn't that also just based off of, whatever. I fucking love it. No explanation. Dot's special.
Very straightforward shonen bullshit, yes.
Yeah. Epidem's like, this is very scary, but I will not be, I will not be turned down by you. My magic is the strongest, most miraculous substance ever. I'm going to shoot a bunch of guns. And then he goes to do it, and all of his guns are all, like, shot up. He's like, what's going on? And Dot has cross guns for arms.
He's so stupid and fucking awesome looking.
It's so metal and so absolutely ridiculous. It's great. He's like, what is this form that's awakened? And Dot's like, die 100 times. And there's a bunch of bullets coming at him. And Epidem's like, no, do not get carried away. And he activates his thirds. And it doesn't.
I'll just unleash my Gatling dragon now.
It basically looks like Buzzsaw from Pokemon if you strapped a shit ton of miniguns to it, just fucking all over the place. And he's like, yes, this produces an absurd amount of orichalcum. I don't know how you shot it down before, but shooting down this many bullets is impossible. Now fall. And he fires a bunch of bullets. And he's like, oh god, it changed. Because Dot's fucking cross guns become like 30, 100,000 guns. Like, it makes no sense. I guess he could do anything at this point. Because he didn't activate a new spell. He's just, look, that's how it works. And he's like, oh, it changed. It's shooting at all the orichalcum. He's like, but what does... and like all of his bullets are hitting the orichalcum, and then they keep going. He's like, for every one of my attacks, he produces dozens. And the bullets are all coming at Epidem, and he says, Puddin'. We go into a flashback of Pudding, of Epidem fighting Putty in a box abandoned in the rain. And then they go on a beach trip together, and they're eating at a restaurant and listening to magic
while he's eating other pudding.
And a scene of him throwing himself in front of Pudding to protect it. Pudding!
It is literally the panel where Piccolo protects Gohan.
And he just thinks, you made my life complete. You are my greatest love. Pudding, he says, as he's exploded 100,000 times over. An Epidem is seemingly defeated. He says, you were true to word. I have died 100 times over. Well done. And Dot's like, ugh, I came out on top, but it doesn't feel like a win, because he's all sad about Lance. He's like, I hated you too, but why did a guy like you die for... And Lance is like, could you be quiet? I'm nursing a headache. Dot's like, the fuck? You're not dead? And Lance is like, no, my collection of Anya pins protected me. I wear them everywhere. My little sister always has my bed. Gosh, German suplexes him. He fucking like Kenny Omega suplex, snap suplex him.
That's a great German suplex. Look at the bridge on that.
That bridge is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's a good German. Ugh.
Yeah, and that's it. That's the chapter.
This was insane. That is the flashback montage of him treating Pudding like it's his best friend. It's so crazy.
Because the panel where I thought they were eating, people have corrected me, I can see, it's actually him proposing. So the idea is that
it is.
He found Pudding in a box, like an abandoned pet,
like a dog,
and then married. And you're like, what is this relationship you're imposing on this Pudding?
The Pudding is not. It has no brain. You cannot consent to this relationship.
Oh my god, such a silly series. Good chapter though. And I do love that. That was it. That was all the lore to the Era Cruise. Fucking classic Mashle, man.
Oh god. All right, the Elusive Samurai, Chapter 77, The Side of Justice, 1335. Last time, Iwamatsu was being very creepy, because he was like, I'm going to have all the ladies now. Invaded the tent where Shizuku and the other girls were in. So all the women are trying to resist being captured by his men. But Shizuku very calmly stares him down and is like, oh, I recognize you. Is attacking an unarmed camp and abducting women worthy of a retainer to the ruling Ashikaga? And he's just like, sexist things. I love women, and I do bad things to them. And yeah, it's gross.
Yes.
Ayako and Fubuki and Ayako's father fortunately all show up. And start attacking Uematsu's forces.
It is noted, and I guess I should say appreciated, that these two guys who are grabbing her in a very unnerving way are then fucking knocked away with the tree. Like the dude shows up and fucking tree bats them out of there. So that's good at least.
Yeah, Mochizuki is like, he's a surgeon with that. He's swinging a tree, and he just swings it like over Shizuku's head, and it doesn't touch her at all while they're battered off. They get team rocketed away. Yeah. So Mochizuki and Uematsu are look to be squaring off. And yeah, so he's like, I'm gonna kill Mochizuki. Light fires everywhere. Mochizuki turns to Ayako and says, "Go with my troops and target the commander, Ishido. Go defeat him before our casualties mount." So she and Fubuki go off to do that. Meanwhile, Iomatsu unsheathes his sword, which is this big freaking cleaver-looking thing. So the battle's engaged there. Ishido reveals his weird, like, his weird breastplate idol girl thing, which, yep, it's a thing. I do, however, like the panel where he acts like a badass about it, because he gets this very big sneer while he's tapping his head. He's like, let me tell you how women on the brain make a man strong. Like he's revealing it, because he's revealing his big shonen villain ability while he's talking about a cute girl that he made up on his armor. So
which is
it's like
bananas, because again,
yeah,
we've already established in this series virginity makes you the strongest. I don't know why. Like,
yeah,
I'm waiting for that dude to show back up and be like,
yeah.
no,
You're wrong.
it's about practicing the blade and never looking into women ever.
The young commander just like mocks a bunch of the Hojo forces, being like, "Ha ha! I set your camp on fire." And Yorishige observes, like, okay, yeah, this is a really big problem. You know, we're being attacked in all these unconventional ways. You know, our non-combatants are being attacked. Our morale is falling without even, because of, our ally has been attacked. And we see that, like this kid has been manipulating all of the weird people, all the weird generals, so that they can get their way. And he even manipulated Shibukawa by arranging for, the them to have the flags of the Hojo forces while firing at him. And it's like, yeah, I'll do all this. And someone points out to him, like, I mean, he's going to get kind of angry at you, right? And he says, like, hey, I mean, it'll be worth it, that what is suffering one punch from him compared to the glory of Ashikaga? Justice is on our side. It's like, all right, yeah, I need that. This is a cool villain character. I appreciate this. Like, yeah, I'll do all this garbage stuff because it is for a cause that I believe in. Yeah. Kojiro is over where Shibukawa is, and he's like, what's going on? Why is this guy just kind of like, standing around watching when he was so angry before? And he's also wondering, like, what can we do to take this guy out? He's got all this fury, but he's also got this immense calm about him. How can we do this? And he and Tokiyuki are starting to get overwhelmed because, like, oh man, there's all these incredibly strong commanders. There's this tactician who's controlling the battlefield. Tokiyuki gets a little turned on because the situation's dangerous. And then he's like, all right, Kojiro, this is the time. Shibukawa is up there. He's completely alone and unguarded. Let's go confront him, and we'll raise your name, and we'll also boost morale. So he's like, hey, I'm going to help out my friend. I'm going to help out the battlefield. Let's go do this. And Genpa's got a plan for it, which is, hey, well, those guys, went under, our banner, so let's just go sneak up on them under their banner. I found this Ashikaga standard we can use. And apparently Yorishige, of course, had never seen this possibility. So he's like, yeah, this is a good idea. And so as they approach, we get a little bit of a, brief breakdown of like, hey, the best way to fool someone is when you're, going to a place you don't belong is just to, not doubt yourself, stride forward with confidence. So they do that. And then no one views them with suspicion all the way up until they get right next to Shibukawa on the cliff that he's on. They drop the battle standard, and Kojiro and Tokiyuki take battle stance against him, and they're like, hey, we're going to fight you down 2 against 1, just the way that you hate. It's an unfair fight. Fuck you. So,
eat shit, nerd.
Yeah. So yeah, there's some good little bits in this chapter, but it's kind of just a bunch of setup. So
there's decent elements to it, and I am excited at the idea of like, hey, Tokiyuki and Kojiro going up against this big general, and some of that stuff. I'm still kind of like at a point where I don't know. I feel like after having, and I'm blanking on his name, but the guy who had like all the ants all over him and everything like that, having like an antagonist along those, or even like, oh god, I'm blanking on every character's name. The guy, where like these were like fully developed, like interesting antagonists. Like boiling this down to like honor guy, pervert guy, smart guy. Like I understand that those guys also all took time to like develop and get stuff over time, but I'm certainly less interested in this like antagonistic, chokehold that they're suddenly in. Because you're like, I don't really give a shit about any of these villains, though. Like, I guess I kind of dig Honor Dude a little bit, but, like, not enough that I'm, like, super invested in this fight. I think it's going to be good, but I'm just like, Sanamune. Sorry, just suddenly remembered the name.
Yeah.
I'm just not as, like, connected with this as I wish I was.
Absolutely. I totally get where you're coming from, so.
All right, Nick.
All right.
Well, let's talk about Black Clover page 337, Whereabouts. So we open with Nature Boy Ric Flair, who has shown up, and he's like, hey, guys, we're back at the Black Bulls base. Shut up and listen to me, basically. Ash is dead. They inflicted a lethal wound.
He's so good at giving speeches.
Yeah, he's like, shut up, dork. He's like, hey, they inflicted a lethal wound and erased him with spatial magic. Considering the circumstances, we should assume that he's dead. And everybody's like a bunch of reactions. Most people are just like stunned shock. Magnus is like, going off and dying without permission? No way does he get away with that. And Nature Boy Flair's like, it doesn't matter how anyone feels about it. It won't change the facts. That said, no matter how much I focus on reality, I still can't believe that guy is dead. Not when I haven't seen a corpse. And basically the entire Black Bulls in order or in unison are like, yeah, there's no way Asta's dead. They believe in him. Which 3 years ago would have just annoyed me. But now I'm just like, yeah, dude, why would they not? All these dudes, like, at this point, if I didn't see a corpse either, I'd be like, I don't know, man. Fucking, he probably pooped out another magic sword and teleported him somewhere. Like, the dude just does this.
I hated this moment. Like capital H 5 A's. Hated this moment. I was riding so high up until last chapter. I'm like, oh, Black Clover, big stakes. Looks like our heroes are fucked. We got such huge hurdles to overcome. What trials await them? All the Black Bulls, the first time that they show up in this arc, are just like, look at this colorful cast of characters. We're all so different from each other. Let's all say it in unison. Asta's not dead. Just none of them at all give even a moment's hesitation before it was like, no, Asta's fine. Let's just go and find him. And it's like, all right, cool. Let's just completely like act like this doesn't affect us at all and go and get our friend. It's you could have had like a moment where they're like all at least think he's dead, but then Nature Boy Ric Flair reveals like, but there's this thing, so that it seems like there might be just a chance. That everyone's like, if there's even a smallest chance, just something. Not instead of just like, he's probably not actually dead, even though he's definitely dead.
I said, like, for me, I'm just like, I don't know. At this point, that's just how the Black Bulls operate. So them operating this way doesn't surprise me so much. Like, I'm a little disappointed, but I'm just like, yeah, dude, sure, I guess. Cut over. Asta wakes up, and there is, I don't know what you would call this. A robot, I guess? Or something.
She's a tea-serving Ochami dog.
This thing that opens its mouth that looks very similar to Charmy, and asks, of course, like, Miss Charmy? And yeah, the new person shows up. He's like, ha ha ha, that's a tea-serving Ochami doll. And we are introduced to Shvami. Actually, we don't know his name yet, but he absolutely looks like Yami's twin brother. So
he looks like a cross between Yami and Shunsui from Bleach.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, I hope that's a payoff and not just a lackluster character design of just like, what if all the people from here just kind of look like this? So he's like, how you feeling, Asta? And Asta's like, how the fuck do you know my name? He didn't say fuck. Asta would be so much cooler if he said fuck every once in a while. It's like this fucking wound healed up.
I'm gonna fucking be the Wizard King.
And he's like, did you heal me up? And this person whose name we don't know is like, no, my friend did. I ain't got any power that impressive. And of course Asta's like, well, where's Leap? And they're like, oh, the devil? Yeah, my friend's fixing it up now. You're fine. They're like, oh, you know about devils. All right, well, that's cool. And I don't sense any hostility in this key, so I'm going to be passable in this conversation. He's like, are you a friend of Miss Charmy's? And this person says, nah, I've never met the little glutton, so he must know who she is. He just says,
well, he says, I know Yami.
Yes.
So maybe they're pen pals.
I guess. He does say we were pals as kids, so maybe they just forgot to say pen pals. They're like, oh, wow, well, you're Captain Yami's old friend. He's like, yeah, last time I saw him was when he was 13, though, so it's been a while. And he stops. He's like, I bet he still takes long dumps, right?
It's a defining characteristic.
It really just has become his define. Like the same way Kakashi read perverted books. Fucking Yami just fucking takes dumps. Just God. Massive real steamers. He says, hey, he was always a bossy, mean-eyed dude who got violent every chance he got. I'm like, oh, cool. So he's basically always been the way he is now. I know it's real bad, though. Moths. Throw one of them and watch him turn white as a sheet. So they just have some wacky conversation for a little bit. There's another character who looks very stern as this conversation is happening. But Asta's like, oh, shit, I can't talk. Thanks for saving me, but I don't know where this is, but I have to get back fast. And Percy's like, oh, no need to stress about it. You're not in great shape, right? But I understand how you feel. You got your heart broken, then you got killed, almost killed, and then, you know, all by the lady you liked and the guy you look up to. That sucks. And Asta's just like, how do you know all this? He's like, well, I can just see stuff is on. He points to his eye that's covered up by an eye patch. And he says, besides, my eye's telling me that if you go back now, you can't win. And you can't get back by yourself anyway. We see the person that was there gets up and they walk over to the window and they fling it open, revealing that Asta is in Wano, Nick! The Wano arc never ended! We're still there!
Yeah, pretty much.
Act 4, the curtains open. I know, this is the land of the sun, a foreign country, a long, long, long way from your Clover Kingdom. And this is Ryudo, the Shogun, and the guy in charge. Since you're here, get yourself more powerful right here, right now. Bum, bum, bum.
This is a very Bleach-ass feeling development that has happened here. You know, just like Asta just wakes up in a new place and someone's like, I'm a new character. It's time to train you. Also, there's a lot of, feudal Japan looking stuff and someone who just looks like a Shinigami like with them and stuff. So it is just kind of like giving me like, oh, this feels very Bleach right now, which is like, it's fine. I'm not saying, anything critical like that. But yeah, it's like, all right. So that I mean, it kind of does like fit because, Asta has inherited Yami's sword. So now it seems as though like the place that Yami came from is where he's going to get the source of his new power up and stuff. I don't really know why the Ojami doll looks a lot like Charmy. That's a weird note. But yeah, I guess we'll see where this goes now.
Yeah, I don't have too many things to say about it. It seemed like it was fine.
Let's close things out then by talking about One Piece, chapter 1059, The Matter Involving Captain Kobe. Okay, so
fuck Sabo. We don't have time to get back to that right now. We
Thank God.
Talk about Kobe.
Thank God.
The better Sabo, to be honest.
There's so much to talk about in this. All right, so the first thing that happens is we stop with Marco, who is hanging out with Shanks for a little bit. And people are like, hey, are you not going to join our crew? Marco is like, no.
I do love it. I fucking love that it's Shanks just being like, you going to join? He's like, nah. And like Shanks being like, I'm not a handful. Tell him back. And Beck's like, yeah, no, you're a handful. Just flies away.
So Marco flies off. We get a flashback to explain that there was a bit more going on in that big goodbye that happened on Wano, especially involving Yamato and the Straw Hats. Turns out, guys, Yamato is a Straw Hat? Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk.
Sure. In the same way Vivi has always been a Straw Hat.
Pretty much. Yeah, so basically they're talking about, it's like, yeah, so that woodsman guy attacked, and someone's horrifically powerful hockey stopped him, and that saved the country from being attacked. Kaido's not around. Guys like him are going to come here, so I can't just leave everyone behind. So, and I know that Luffy, you can't go adventuring if you have people that you're leaving behind that you're worried about. You know, it's the same for both of us. And he says flat, I was like, I want to be a part of your crew, so call me your crewmate. And Luffy's like, okay, I get it. I guess this is more reassuring for us as well to have you behind, so you take care of Momo and the others. And Yama says, yeah, I'll do that. They part on that, and Marco was around while this conversation was going on. It was basically. I like how Yamato puts it as like, yeah, I'll make up some bullshit excuse to stay behind here too.
Sure.
Yeah. So, yeah. Then Marco showed up and basically said goodbye to him. And he's like, yeah, there's a ship that's passing by that we're just gonna hitch a ride on. So bye. And Luffy takes a moment to say, like, hey, you saved me during the big Paramount War, didn't you? Thanks. It's like, oh, that's nice. And Marcos just says, I mean, we all just kind of like moved without really thinking about it. And he looks to Jinbei and he says, why do you suppose that was? And Jinbei says, I mean, it happened so long ago, I just forgotten. So, And Marco also says, like, I'm sure Ace is glad that you've grown up so much, Luffy. So it's like, aw. Then we cut away from there to the present in Amazon Lily. Hancock's got a bandage on her forehead because she's been through battle, and so she was injured in a very minor way.
Which is amusing when you find out what that injury, like how that conflict happened. You're like, how did your forehead even get hurt?
Yeah.
Like, how did that even happen?
Hancock says, like, oh, the Navy will always come as long as I am here. Where am I to go? At this point, I just want to be married to Luffy. Like, yeah, okay. And I love how the other's just like, I mean, that's how you always are anyway. So we get an explanation of what happened several weeks prior when we had the big, all of the former emperors are being attacked by the Navy on the Hancock end of it. So the Navy invaded Amazon Lily, and they sent in the new Seraphim Pacifistas to the fore. And this Seraphim Pacifista that they send forward looks like a little kid who has wings and fire coming out of the back of them. So, hey, maybe that whole thing where we were introduced to a new race of people and stuff had a reason behind it.
And looks like King was important to the story after all.
Yeah. And also there's someone who looks like so. And at that moment, the Blackbeard pirates showed up after causing the huge earthquake and, wrecking a bunch of the Navy battleships. What the hell? And they just come out and Blackbeard's just saying, I've come for your pirate empress! Let me have your power! So, that all is happening. The Navy is still out there, so Blackbeard almost like dismissively just sends an earthquake out at them and blasts them all away, calls for Hancock to come out. The Navy forces are still there, the ones that have like made land. Hancock is all, defiant, of course.
I do have an important question. This is a fun One Piece question for me. Nick, Blackbeard brought two of his crewmates along. Can you tell me the name of these two characters?
Nope.
Can you even give me a guess?
No.
Okay, cool.
Longnose and other Longnose.
Good guesses. Catalina Devon and Basco Shot.
Okay. Basco did actually kind of ring a bell, so all right. However, as Blackbeard approaches, some of his men cry out for assistance. They're like, nothing works against this one. And Blackbeard looks over and he's like, what the hell? White hair, brown skin, black wings? Did one kid beat you all? And a bunch of his men just have swords in their bodies. The little kid with the wings and the flame is there. And Blackbeard kind of looks and sees that there is something that says PX on their body, and realizes, wait, the hell, this is a pacifista. The pacifista attacks with a sword and cuts the mountain in half, which is pretty cool. And Blackbeard starts to get freaked out because the little kid attacks him. Even with armament hockey, he's getting pressed back. He uses his freaking black hole ability to get some distance. Meanwhile, Hancock is dealing with a bunch of the pirates and sailors that have invaded her island, petrifying them into stone. And everyone's like, shit, we got to stop the pacifista because she's going to shatter literally everyone that's turned to stone. Kobe is freaking out about this. He's like, we got to stop this. Hancock starts to unleash another of her abilities, but then things go bad, and she winds up with just Blackbeard's hand around her throat, lifting her up, and Kobe is kind of in the middle of the two of them, trying to sort out the situation and avoid a giant massacre, because Hancock's ability has still turned everyone to stone, and even if Blackbeard takes away her Devil Fruit ability, then they won't return to normal. And it's not just a bunch of nameless officers, too. It's also Basco.
There you go. Basco shot.
And Catalina.
Catalina, there you go.
Yeah.
Also, Kobe's friend is paralyzed. What's his name?
Isn't that Helmeppo?
Yeah, there you go, Nick.
Oh, yeah, there he is. He's right next to him. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So, but Kobe presumably is fine because he's strong, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, Blackbeard's like, I'm gonna take my powers, and Hancock, despite the fact that she's being choked and there's blood coming out of her mouth, she's like, this power is nothing without my beauty. Kill me and your followers remain petrified. And Kobe's like, shit, she's way tougher than I thought that she would be. So they start talking to each other, and he's like, this isn't getting us anywhere, is it, Kobe the hero? You helped me out in that rocky port incident. Thanks to you, I was able to topple Wang Ji, making me the boss of Pirate Island. If I let this woman go, you think she'll play nice and turn my men back? And Kobe's like, I mean, I need her to put my men back to normal, too. And Hancock promises that if they leave without causing additional trouble, then she'll do it. But Blackbeard's like, you're just going to try and turn us to stone. I don't believe you. And he's like, I guess I just have to kill her. But Kobe's like, no, you're just going to doom all these people to death. Fortunately, at that moment, Silver's Raleigh shows up.
It's just like a whole wild-ass fucking second Marineford happens, basically, on this island.
So, yeah, he comes out, and Blackbeard freaks the hell out about Raleigh being there. And Raleigh starts talking down to him, calling him Whitebeard's cabin boy.
I always do love the dismissive ability he has over Blackbeard. Also, just to pull back, the Rocky Port incident has been referenced again, and I'm like, we're going to have to get a flashback for this at some point to find out what the fuck that was, because so many things came as a result of it, apparently.
So Kobe also is freaking out because, holy shit, Silver's Raleigh is here. Raleigh asks Hancock to undo the petrification, and he says, like, I'll mediate everything. Nobody here overstepped their bounds. Just behave yourselves and quietly leave the island. Flashback ends, and so things worked out after Raleigh showed up. Of course, Shakuhaku is there with Raleigh.
This is so obnoxious because throughout this chapter they've done the little like intro, like Boa Hancock to Marshall D. Tech, and like I don't know why it's in this font that's so fucking faded.
It's really hard
like,
to read.
I legitimately, it was until someone else in our Discord mentioned something that I realized, oh, there's a little bubble that says that Shaki was fucking the former leader of the Amazons. Like,
apparently, yeah.
You're like, what? Like, I didn't see it the first time because it just blends into the rock there. I didn't even see that there was text at that point.
Yeah, so the elder was the emperor, the empress, and then Shaki, and then Hancock's mother, and now Hancock herself, apparently. So okay, just gonna like, here we go.
Was it Hancock's mother? I thought she was a slave.
Of the Kuja pirates, though.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know about the Kuja pirates. I honestly don't know.
I don't know.
I don't pay attention enough to their lore, unfortunately.
All right. So, well, I mean, so that all has happened, and so they established like, oh yeah, that would cause a lot of trouble. They say Vegapunk's Sea Prism Stone paddle ships mean the column belt isn't as safe for us as it was before. So they say like, yeah, that was all really bad. Even Riley says like, oh yeah, it was, I mean, at my age, like it wouldn't have been possible to save Hancock if it were by force. Me against Blackbeard, which is good of him to know. He was really just kind of relying on like, you know, big dick energy basically in that situation. And on top of that, now the Navy has new super powerful weapons, which apparently they're using as replacements for the warlords. And they say that one of the pacifistas, in particular one that the Amazons were freaking out over, looked basically like a child Hancock, except with like the dark skin and white hair. So what could that mean?
Well, we also saw that there was one attacking Blackbeard, and that one kind of looked like a young Mihawk.
Yeah, it had the sword. Presumably that was the one that cut the mountain in half. So
it looks like they've made baby monsters basically.
And that might be the thing that Kuma was telling the rebels in the previous chapter, but we'll see. And one last note before the chapter ends is that Captain Kobe has been abducted. He's been kidnapped by the Blackbeard pirates. So he didn't get out of that situation unscathed. Oh no, Kobe's in danger. So
yeah, there's like a ton of wild stuff in this chapter. It is somewhat interesting that Blackbeard is now 2 for 2 in like completely emasculating prominent female characters. Like usually the only female character in an established group, like single-handedly. It's almost like his gimmick now.
It's weird a little bit. Yeah.
Not a great look, but I mean, I do think the scene had a lot of tension to it, and as a lot of people were there. But it is wild, and like, hey, there's new evil children warlord fucking super robots that are angels too. It's crazy. So
yeah,
we shall see.
Yeah, I thought this was a pretty intense chapter. This was the kind of thing that I feel like a lot of big One Piece fans are like, just like, oh, there's all this stuff happening, and when there's just like stuff happening everywhere, they get really excited. And normally I'm just kind of like, yeah, but it involved the 275th and 358th most important characters in the series, so who cares? But in this case, it was like, oh yeah, this is like all really interesting stuff, and like it feels like there's like, okay, no, this like changes the game board in terms of what's going on, and we're also finally getting a couple of answers to some of the incidents that are happening instead of just being set up. It's like, okay, now I have an actual picture of stuff that's going on.
Yeah,
so, good stuff.
I think so, absolutely.
All right. That's going to do it for Weekly Manga Recap this week, guys. Let's name our favorites for this week. Quinn, favorite chapter and MVP?
My favorite chapter I'm going to give to Chainsaw Man. It was just a very, very funny chapter, so I want to give it to that. I'm really got to think of character, though.
Yeah, there were some good things this week. I almost want to give it to PPPPPP. Because of just how different it is with the visuals and the trippy delivery of it. I think I am going to give it to Chainsaw Man as well, however, just because it's just so funny from beginning to end. And like I said when we were going over it, was unexpected, but yet made perfect sense while it was unfolding. Yeah. So very good stuff.
Nick, thoughts on if I make Cure my MVP?
Well, it wouldn't be Cure though. It would be
Hai Long.
It would be Hai Long, yeah.
Do we put Hai Long in there then?
I mean, if you make a Cure's the worst character I've come across in a long time. Hai Long, though.
Hai Long's pretty sweet. It's very similar to the Peter Ratchery is MVP this week because he sucked so much, basically. I'm just trying to think. No one else really stood out that much. I guess if it's not that, I would probably go with Ginka, maybe from Ginka Glüna. I thought was pretty decent, and I guess yeah, because I'm like, it wasn't like that cool of a moment for fucking Dot. Like his backstory, the whole like lore to his race was fucking dumb. So I'm not gonna give it to them. I certainly can't give it to like anyone from One Piece. I guess Blackbeard maybe, but I don't know.
I'm going to give mine to Sun because
yes, it should be Sun. God, yeah, holy shit, yeah, change it to that. That's way better.
So we'll have like 3 different asterisks on yours. Hai Long, who is actually
LVP.
Cross that
out. The audience, by the way, picked Ginka and Luna as their series of the week, and Puddin from Mashle as the character of the week.
How did this happen?
It was a real contest this week for character of the week, but Puddin squeezed out the votes.
This is even more offensive than like if we ever had a moment where like, thank God we weren't doing like weekly manga recap when the Going Merry went down, because people would have made that their character.
Oh yeah, 100%. Why would it not have been? It was a ship, Nick. It was his crewmate.
The pudding never talks to anyone, guys. It's not actually a character. It is an object. I don't know how to tell you this. Oh, guys. All right. That is going to do it for Weekly Manga Recap. Thank you all for joining us. We recorded the show here on twitch.tv/RoloT Wednesday evenings, usually starting at about 7:30 Eastern time. But to stay updated on exactly when the show goes live, follow us on social media. On Twitter, we are RoloT, Nick F Time, and WMR Podcast. You can also join our Discord server, and we will also send out a notification when the stream goes live there as well. On our Discord server, you can also hang out with our wonderful community, where there are bi-weekly game nights, conversations whenever new chapters drop, so you can get excited for what's going on in the series that we cover. You can also talk about the recommendation that we've taken. Also, leave a recommendation of your own by following that to the Google Doc that is maintained by Ninja X3i that keeps track of all sorts of helpful statistics and history, and also our recommendations that might come up in the future for the podcast. We would like to thank everyone who supports us over on patreon.com/weekly manga recap. We can join that, subscribe, and get some bonus content that we love to give you guys. And you can also just follow the show in all the different feeds where it is available. We're on youtube.com/weekly manga recap for the video versions, weeklymangarecap.podbean.com for the audio version, and you can also just listen to it on podcast feeds through Spotify and iTunes and stuff like that. And last but not least, we would like to thank Steve Mann, our title card artist. You can check out his work on twitter.com/SteveMannArt. And Milo Jack Stillitz and Winslow Cheddar, who created the opening sequence for the video version of the show.
Yes. All right. Well, that is going to do it for the Manga Recap this week, everybody. I hope everybody enjoyed themselves. I guess we're just going to head out.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Peace.